The world watches in horror as Gaza once again becomes the epicenter of violence. Israeli incursions into the densely populated strip have resulted in a staggering loss of life. Hundreds of Palestinian civilians, including women and children, have perished under the weight of relentless airstrikes and ground offensives. Hospitals struggle to cope, their morgues overwhelmed with the dead and dying. The streets of Gaza, once bustling with life, are now eerily deserted. The constant threat of bombardment has forced residents to seek refuge wherever they can. Schools, mosques, and UN shelters are packed with families desperate for safety. Supplies are dwindling and access to clean water and sanitation is limited, creating a breeding ground for disease and despair. The situation in Rafah, a key city in southern Gaza, is particularly dire. Thousands of terrified residents are fleeing north towards Al-Mawasi, seeking sanctuary from the escalating violence. The exodus of refugees paints a grim picture of displacement and desperation. The international community must act swiftly to provide humanitarian aid and establish safe corridors for civilians trapped in the crossfire. The world is watching, and history will judge our response to this unfolding tragedy. Beyond the staggering death toll, the conflict inflicts deep psychological wounds on Gaza's children. The constant fear of violence, the loss of loved ones, and the destruction of their homes leave an indelible mark on their young lives. One particularly disturbing incident reported by Defense for Children Palestine (DCIP) highlights the brutal reality facing Palestinian youth. Two young boys aged 7 and 13 were allegedly subjected to horrific treatment by Israeli forces. The boys were reportedly stripped, humiliated, terrorized, and detained after witnessing the fatal shooting of their grandmother. This incident, if true, represents a shocking violation of children's rights and underscores the urgent need for accountability. The trauma inflicted on these children will likely have long-lasting consequences, impacting their physical, emotional, and mental well-being. This generation, growing up under the shadow of conflict, faces a bleak future. Their education disrupted, their sense of security shattered, and their childhood stolen. The international community must prioritize the protection of children and ensure their access to education, healthcare, and psychosocial support. Failure to do so will have devastating consequences for generations to come. The cycle of violence must be broken, and the children of Gaza deserve a chance at a brighter future. Adding fuel to the fire are explosive allegations leveled by Ronen Bar, the outgoing chief of Israel's internal security agency, Shin Bet. Bar accuses Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of deliberately undermining ceasefire negotiations during the 2023 war in Gaza. According to Bar, Netanyahu was content to maintain the appearance of negotiation without any real intention of achieving peace. These allegations, if true, paint a disturbing picture of political maneuvering at the expense of human lives. Barr's claims suggest that Netanyahu prioritized his own political survival over the well-being of both Israelis and Palestinians. Furthermore, Barr accuses Netanyahu of systematically undermining the police and intelligence community, particularly those who dare to challenge his authority. This pattern of behavior, if accurate, raises serious concerns about the state of democracy and accountability within Israel. Meanwhile, the conflict threatens to engulf the entire region. Yemen's Houthi rebels, in a show of solidarity with the Palestinians, launched a missile attack targeting a military site south of Tel Aviv. While Israel claims to have intercepted the missile, this incident highlights the volatile situation and the potential for a wider escalation. The international community must engage in urgent diplomatic efforts to de-escalate the situation, prevent further bloodshed, and work towards a just and lasting solution for all involved. As the situation in Gaza deteriorates, it is crucial to acknowledge the restrictions placed on media organizations like Al Jazeera. Banned from operating within Israel and the occupied West Bank, Al Jazeera is forced to report from neighboring Jordan. This geographical limitation inevitably impacts the scope and immediacy of their coverage. While Al Jazeera maintains its commitment to providing accurate and impartial reporting, it is essential to consider the potential for bias and limitations inherent in any news organization, particularly those operating under such constraints. The international community must demand transparency from all parties involved and encourage independent media access to conflict zones. A free and independent press is vital for holding those in power accountable and ensuring that the voices of the oppressed are heard. The ongoing violence in Gaza is not just a regional conflict, it is a global crisis demanding a global response. The world must not turn a blind eye to the suffering of the Palestinian people. We must demand an end to the violence, accountability for all violations of human rights, and a renewed commitment to achieving a just and lasting peace. The time for empty rhetoric is over, the world is watching, and our humanity is being tested.